Okay, everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. Want to welcome everybody. So of course we know the purpose of this meeting is to start developing a strategy and a plan for building a village. And so we wanted to get everybody together this morning to start having that discussion. And so we have on the phone right now, we got Seth, Tegan, Cheyenne, Marshall, Kim, and Chris. Did I miss anybody?
Darlene.
Yeah, but she's not here.
She's not here. She's not here, so I'm not gonna give her credit for being here. But we're recording, so we'll send her a recording if she can't make it. I hope she's okay though. Oh, here she comes. Okay, I doggone it. I knew as soon as I started. I knew as soon as I started, she'd show up.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, really.
Now we're all here.
All right, Darlene.
Woohoo!
Morning, Darlene.
Hello, Queenie.
Darlene.
Are you muted? Unmute yourself,
She is.
Darlene.
She
Darlene,
says, I'm here, but I'm not here.
you don't want to talk?
I will when the tech works. When the technology works, I'll get it. Okay, I'm here.
We were afraid you fell into the weed patch back there and got into some wacky weed or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here's who we've got: Seth, Tegan, Cheyenne, Marshall, Kim, Chris, and Darlene, and myself on the phone.
That's the team right there.
It's a team, yes, sir.
Hey.
So we wanted to pull everybody together. Just wanted to start to dialogue about putting together a core team of people to build a village. And first thing I want to do is, of course, we did the introduction. We had our talk last week about what everybody thought we needed to do from individuals to come together to build a village. And here's what I got from y'all last week when we were on there on Friday night was we needed to develop partnerships with a core group and develop a plan for a project. Does everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So one of the things that I think has been a challenge for maybe all of us, and challenge me if I'm wrong about this, but one of the things I think that we need to come through right now before we get into this thing on a deep level is trust. And I'm not going to say that I don't trust y'all. What I am going to say, though, is that a lot of us have had trust issues with others where there has been, we've been hurt, or perhaps we've been reluctant to share and to open up and to give due to a lack of trust. Is that an honest statement?
Yes.
Well, yeah, other people's always messed over people that causes problems.
Down.
Okay.
Down. Mostly starting a team and, not staying together.
Right. Marshall, you need to adjust.
I've been with a team of people a long time.
Right. So, Marshall, I think you need to adjust a little bit. We got what you meant about not staying together. Chris, we got what you said. Anybody else want to add to the trust point?
I was saying basically not having a solid team of people to stick it out. And this is the longest I've been with a team of people in a long, long time.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I trust everyone in this group.
I don't, because I've been trying to open it up, not at all.
I not only trust, I have faith.
Okay, hang on. Let Chris say what Chris, could you repeat that?
I trust everyone in here. I've tried to be as open about everything that my side is and what gets told to me and what things are. So I basically gave all my faith that when I do speak, I don't have to worry about I'm not worried about anybody stealing it. If they do it, guess what? I'm happy because the program's being worked. If they feel they got to do it themselves, they're fighting a thing that I've been fighting for 15 years. You can't do this by yourself. You can't do any part of this by yourself. It takes a team, it takes unity, and it's going to take a community because we got to have longevity. That's the key thing here is changing lives on a large scale for a endless amount of time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I got something from Chris, got something from Marshall, got something from Darlene, got something from Seth. Kim, would you like to add anything?
When you're saying community, there are different types of communities. So my question would be is, are we talking about like, say, a veterans community? You know, like I have a dad who's a veteran, for example. Will there be specialized communities where some of these houses are just for veterans in certain locations? Will there be houses for single moms? Will there be houses, you know what I'm saying? What are we striving for? Different types of communities in different places.
All
I'm
right,
just
Kim,
curious.
we're going to get to that, Kim. The first thing is, and this, I think this is why you guys asked me to be a moderator for this thing. We're going to get to that in that discussion. But first thing we're trying to do here is we're trying to establish a foundation as a team, right? So the question I was asking was, is there anything you would like to say about trust within this group? Would you like to contribute a trust statement about the people that you've come to know or that you need to come to know in this group? What's your trust level with the group?
My trust level with the group,
Yeah.
I feel it's fairly high. I mean, I feel it's pretty good.
Okay.
Most of you all I've met in person or have been dealing with you on a long-term basis now for a while.
Okay. Tegan?
Previous to this group, my thoughts were don't trust anybody. I'd been screwed over so many times, but I think with this group, I finally found some place I can set down roots.
Okay. Okay, I think that's everybody. And for me, I feel like I can trust you guys. I feel like that we have been circling around this for a while. I know most of these people in this group. I know Cheyenne and I know Darlene. I've known both those folks for years. I've been talking to some extent with the rest of you for quite some time. So I feel like that we can all get together and honestly, now what we've just done is we've done an honesty assessment on our trust of one another. Oh, Cheyenne, I didn't ask you. Would you like to give your input to the trust assessment?
Sure. I will say that my trust level within this group is pretty darn high, and the reason for it is because this is the first time that I've been in a group of people that I feel like it's just like what Chris alluded to earlier. You know, his statement is so much where I live, because he said, you know, okay, and so if somebody steals this idea and goes and does it, I'm not going to freak out about it because at least it's being done. And that's where I operate from, is I don't care how these things get done as long as they get done. And that is such a different energy and a different space than, well, I got to lead this and I got to lead this and this has to be under my umbrella because that's where it belongs, and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, to me, this group to me has the potential to be a really amazing experiment in true collaboration and being able to really you know, figure out how do you integrate the pieces of the puzzle without losing the identity of the people that are there. And I always go back to one of my metaphors is, you know, if you ever watch Star Trek, the Borg, you know, the Borg always wanted to just assimilate everybody and make them one of them. And what, you know, I think our true spiritual nature is about maintaining our individuality while at the same time becoming part of something bigger than ourselves. So
Right.
that's my vision for it.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that takes care of our trust assessment. I felt like that was kind of important for us to do because we've all been, like Sheehan has said to me on a number of occasions, circling around this thing. We've all been involved in our own little separate areas. And so now we've come together as a group on a Saturday morning to really start thinking about getting this thing together. So the next thing I want to bring up is how this group might operate. And these are all things that I've just learned from years of doing moderation and facilitation of calls and meetings and teams and that kind of thing. As we are all independent networkers, we all have these, as my friend has said, network of networks. Going forward, we're all going to be coming together with our own things, our own ideas, our own methods, and our own way of doing things. We need to have a method of doing decision making and of putting things forward. We know we're going to have Zoom meetings, so we'll be able to record and do things that way. But one of the things we've got to do is have a decision-making process, I think. Do people agree with that?
I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we move from doing the Zoom meeting to doing something that's a meeting room that stays open all the time, like I use with
Skype.
in the past. And so that's that way we don't have to always download it. We don't have to wait for it to load. It's always open.
Skype.
I will be glad
Well-
to introduce that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few little group chats, apps and things like that.
The one thing I would ask about that is making sure that whatever is going on that they're recorded. Like if you're going to have it open all the time for people, and I'm assuming you want it open all the time so that people can get together and chat anytime they want and make decisions and things anytime they want and that kind of thing. If we're going to do that, then we want to make sure that whatever that is can be recorded so the rest of the group can understand when something happens, they can get that information to them. So Darlene, is that what are you thinking? What platform?
The My Meeting Room, I will, while we're talking here, I'll go ahead and get the information posted in the chat area.
Okay, so we won't. So we'll disband from doing Zoom meetings and just do the whatever this is.
Well, we can, I would suggest we test it and see if we all like it. It's consensus. I mean, it has to be something we all like. And each of you can be a moderator. Oh, I can make, I think I can make up to 5 moderators in it. It holds 100 people. I can up it to 500 if I need to. It's called myownmeeting.net, and it's a program that's part of Joel Thurin's GBO and Now Lifestyle program. That's the only one that I found that we can. My thing was I wanted a time zone, something that could be open in all time zones and have somebody available in every time zone to moderate the room, and in that way building a global community, which is what we've been working on for a couple of years, is to find enough people around the planet. And I know this is thinking out, thinking big, but it's the communication software that's so important. And I think you realize that because you're with FEMA, you're working with, the ability to stay at even the AMF and ham radio level. We've got to be able to communicate and stay in connection. So to me, that's one of the very most important areas to start with, is our ability to communicate with each other so we can protect each other and be able to move forward. When we discover something, we can share the information quickly. So I think communication is number one.
Well, yeah, let's try that. And let us know if is there a subscription fee or something like that we've got to sign up for. Just let us know.
You know, that's something that I pay for anyway, and you know, it's something that you can get involved in if you wanted to create a business off of it too. It's part of a business package.
Well, I would suggest that we all look at that then, because as my friend Sheehan and you keep telling me, if there's an income stream involved, we need to know about it.
Right.
I know that I definitely need to generate income streams. I'm sure everybody on this call does. We all, you know, I think Chris and I have nonprofits. We're constantly, and I think Marshall does too. We're all trying to generate income. I'm trying to do fundraising, and everybody else is, to try to get our stuff set up. So we all need funds, man. We all need funds. So if we can get a global communication network going through myownmeetingroom.net, let's do it.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees. Yeah.
Yeah, we all
Sounds
need
good.
enough money for the bail, the banking, the accountant, the insurance, and the legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every business needs that.
Yeah. I
That's
was
why
talking to
focus
Sheehan
on
about
trying
that.
to do, you know,
Yeah.
these major things. Yeah,
Right, so
we need it.
then in terms of, so maybe decision making is not as important as communicating, because it may be that we don't need a decision making tool in this group if we're going to have a global kind of open network thing where there's no need for decision making. If someone needs something, they just go into myownmeetingroom.net, set something up, get some people together, make a decision, and go do it. Doesn't need to be a centralized thing, maybe, right?
Well, for now,
Okay.
we are just trying to position everybody in to do what they do best. And I think that's the one thing we should focus on. If we're all doing what we do best, then we're all bringing something to the table.
Okay, right.
I've been doing presentations all week about team problem solving, so I think there is some value to having a problem solving process of
Okay.
some sort.
Yeah, and you know, I've been building teams for years. So if there's anything I can do to help facilitate that, I'm more than happy to do that. My background is in facilitation and team building, so I'm your man. If that's what you'd like me to do, I can be helping with that.
I need help with that.
Okay. Is that Chris?
I
Okay.
need help with building
That was me.
getting more people into the fundraising team.
Well, you know, I think that's what we all need. I mean, I need that too. In fact, you know, I was talking to Sheehan the other day about what my hope about what my organization should look like for the Hope Institute, right? We all need core groups of people to help us with what we need. Like I need a fundraiser. I need a professional fundraiser to volunteer to step up and start raising funds for the Hope Institute, right?
Yeah.
Trying.
You know,
It's not really taking off.
you know, Chris, you know, Chris has got his going. Everybody, all right. So, but to get back to where we are right now, right? And this is an interesting conversation we're having because we've all got our individual creations we're trying to work on. Chris has got Hope. How's our people everywhere, right? I've got Hope Institute. Marshall's got comedy and make people laugh. Darlene, now to get back to the core of what we're meeting for here today, though, and Sheehan's got Triangle Solutions Alliance. All of these things are special niche kind of things. Of course, the Hope Institute is global, and that's you know, and I've been struggling with that, and Sheehan's been struggling with trying to help me to tone down my vision a little bit, because the Hope Institute is a global, big thing that's going to take a lot of time to get built. It is. It's a big thing. So I'm bringing that down to where my niche for everybody here is to teach hope and build teams. That's what I can do. Teach hope and be a team builder. That's what I can do. So we've got a bunch of people here, and Seth is going to be a coach. We know that Seth wants to be a coach, so we got to help Seth to be a coach. Darlene's an educator, I think, and spiritual leader. So we've got that. So we've got and Tegan and John. What is your niche? You guys muted?
Yep.
Unmute. You're talking to the mute button.
Kimberly. Yes.
Tegan, you're talking to the mute button.
There she goes.
Well, I would say Tegan's, I think she's a computer whiz, and she's a good communicator. And my I've always been good at, well, I don't know if I'm good at it now, but I was really good at turning dreams into reality. And I'm often with either connecting with people who do it or help it. But I often, because I know when I was younger, and I think I can do it now, is you give me an objective and I can figure out a way to make it happen.
Okay.
Often it has to go through various avenues, and sometimes various people. And also when I would, go places, like when I worked at different places, I would come up with ideas which would for that place and also for certain people. And then I would just give it to them.
So you're a problem solver.
Maybe. I don't understand the category of it, but it just pops up sometimes, and I try to get it where it needs to go.
Okay. All right, who'd I miss?
Kim.
Kim. What's your niche? What's your specialty?
Well, the thing I've been doing the longest is helping the homeless. I have housed the homeless, even in my own home and in my garage. And I've worked with Darlene for quite a few number of years in housing the homeless. That's been my heart, and that's where I started. And now this, the Hope for Housing is really, that is kind of goes with my heart. You know what I'm saying? So to not have to see people homeless. And so that is a big dream for me to see. I want to see that in reality.
So Kim, you and Chris could hook up together and help drive that, right?
Along with me, I just want you to just know that what I do as a comedian, as a promoter, is just a part of what I do for Operation End Homeless Mission. That's a nonprofit organization that I started several years ago. I'm just waiting to get it reinstated. And I wanted to, make my mission clear, that the Operation End Homeless Mission Foundation is actually the name of my organization. And it's about a strategic plan to bring more people out of homelessness. I just used the comedy as a way to raise funds, and the button and keychain and magnets raise funds. Just wanted to make that clear to everyone.
Okay, great. Now let's bring this back around to why we're here this morning. We're here this morning to talk about building villages. That's the drive that we're here for this morning, right? So what we've got here, and it's kind of like the model that I have for the Hope Institute to some degree. So we've got people here we've got a builder who is Chris, or a builder. I've talked to Chris a little bit about this. So we've got Chris, who is a connector for builders. He has his home nonprofit, yes, for building small homes out of steel, but he's also a connector of building professionals. Chris can go find the people that need to be brought together to build things on a property, right? So we've got the builder rep here. Okay, so that's one thing. We've also got a person who has a property, right, ready to do some work on. And that person is Darlene. Darlene is also a spiritual leader for that property, right?
Yes.
Now, what we've also got is we've got me. I am a team builder and a teacher of 4 principles of helping people to get through the difficult times. I teach hope. Okay. So that's my thing that I can bring to Darlene's property. We've got.
And I'm going to say something real quick. Whenever Darlene had mentioned something about the property, she asked me, she says, "Can I run this?" And I said, "Yes," because that's the whole part. I can't be everywhere and I don't want to be everywhere. I just want it going everywhere. And I was more than happy to say yes. I'm more than happy to, you've already showing me that you're a success. I would take that and run and embrace it as hard as I can. And I thought I've tried to do that with Darlene. She can, and say that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the way I said it was yes. I have no problem with everyone cooperating and doing something positive. And I want to make sure that I support what they're doing, what they want to add to the thing, because it takes every one of these programs out there that it's going to take to make this work. And
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So we've got John, who we believe can help solve problems and bring things together. We've got Tegan, who's a computer person. We've got Kim and Marshall, who are homeless, who help with the homeless, right, which is our clientele. And we've got Seth, who is learning to be a coach to the homeless and to others who need help. And Seth, that's where you and I can work together. I can teach you about teaching hope. Because to me, and I think to everybody that knows about hope, honestly, I'm living as pure love and essence. That's the way that people come through to the other side.
Awesome.
Who did I miss? Anybody?
Me again.
Shan.
No, I said Sheehan. No, Sheehan.
No.
I'm sorry. Sheehan is, I'm sorry, sister. So Sheehan, she is the community reach out unity person who brings in and connects the community businesses and all that together to bring in that outreach to the community, to your site, Darlene.
She's the glue.
She's the glue that goes out here and can do the outreach in the community to bring people in. She's your marketer.
Super connector.
Now, yes, there you go. Super puzzle connector.
Yeah. I'm kind of that on a low key as well, but I don't try to specialize in it.
Well, Marshall, what I really want to say about Marshall is really a good fundraiser, I believe. And as well as working with the homeless and doing her thing with the homeless, Marshall can be connected along with Sheehan in doing a lot of the fundraising that needs to be done to help Darlene.
And I can say this also, you can use me as a perfect case study from a person who has been in and out of homelessness, from walking away from a $30 an hour job. When I used to work for the Postal Service, I was actually forced out, and then going through all the trials and tribulations of dealing with homelessness and mental illness. I just didn't dab into drug addiction and anything like that. But I can say that I lived around so many people who were homeless, addicted. I lived in and worked at a hotel and that housed, well, I'm gonna say housed, but people rented rooms in this hotel, and I was there for 4 years, and I worked there also as a housekeeper for 3 years. So I was doing my own research by listening and doing research on all the people who were there for various reasons, from losing a six-figure business or job, to people who have lost loved ones, to people who were stuck in a homeless situation due to most of these organizations keeping people coming in that loop. So I'm a really good case study, and that's why I titled my organization Operation End Homeless Mission, because it takes an operation to bring a person out of a homeless situation. And
Right.
it takes studying their situation, their home situation, on how to best bring a person out of a homeless situation. So I just wanted to add that, to the conversation today.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what's missing? There's a very key component to this thing that's missing. Actually, there's two. You want to take a guess?
Finances.
What's that?
Well, we're missing finances, that's for sure.
Integrated team, get an integrated plan.
Well, that's what we're working on right now, Darlene. We're going to get to that. And we
That's
may
what's
not,
missing.
there's two pieces of the puzzle that are missing for making a paradise city, though, paradise village. What are they? The farming and the power, right? So if Darlene wants,
That's the HAS project.
so if Darlene wants this thing to be fully paradise, you got to be able to produce your own food, and you got to produce your own power. I think everything else we've identified. So I think John Root was going to be on here, and I've got a guy in Minnesota. We might be able to use Darlene. I don't know if you remember Dave from Minnesota, who's got a really good understanding of doing natural farming, organic farming. We might want to talk to him. I'll call him later and get it with him.
Oh, I put Hill instead of Trent. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting that. It's like, okay. I don't know why, because I have a Barbara Hill that I worked with here for some. That's who I'm supposed to connect with from the past. Thank you.
Is who?
But I also was going to try Chapel Hill. That's a coincidence. Is something my brain said, it's like, because Barbara used to live on the other side of the road that's on the opposite side where the cemetery is, down on the other road there. And she was one of our cohorts many years ago in this original project.
Oh, wow.
I think her son may be interested, coming to think of it.
To be the farmer? To be the farmer?
No, he's not a farmer, but I'm telling you that was, again, just that coincidence of how the brain works to pull the pieces together to remember something from the past that was a key, because this was one of our original thoughts when we started our homeschooling programs to homeschool our kids, was because we needed to have a village to do this, a community to do this, because although parents take on the full responsibility of it, we still need to have a team of people, families working together to do what we're doing, the organic gardening and etc. So she was the organic gardener.
Well, and here's another funny piece, because I don't know whether, we were working on trying to help Barbara with her healing processes while we were in Chapel Hill. But oh my God, she certainly is an amazing woman with some amazing skills, because she was teaching people on her farm about organic farming. But here's the other thing that she has, is that she also pulled together her community and got them all to work together to invest in some solar panels that are being used by multiple families. So she did that as well.
Okay, so
See, the other thing about Barbara Trent is she is a filmmaker and a video and et cetera. So she knows how to promote.
Well,
That's-
she won an
key.
Academy
Good
Award for a documentary.
Marketing. Yeah.
okay, so
we need somebody who is laser focused on marketing. If you think about all of these different movements that are going on, you have people who start groups and get people to like buy a T-shirt or some type of fundraising item. I mean, just look at how big breast cancer awareness has grown. But when it comes to the homeless problem, I mean, it's all about feed America. You know, you need to focus on that, teaching a person how to fish mentality. And if we can get somebody who's really, really good at marketing and get a cool little video together and kind of like change the mindset of people when it comes to homelessness, I think that's a direction we should try to go into, finding somebody who can work that angle for us.
you mean
Maybe even start a group of people
somebody like
who are
Marshall Woodland, maybe?
passionate about actually seeing people come out of homelessness. I could do that, but I need help. I mean, I need help. You know, it's all about somebody putting a good, like she said, she did somebody who did a video. I've been trying to get somebody to do a video on that basis for a long time.
So what you're saying is you need somebody,
some type of video.
okay, so what you're saying is you need somebody who's a professional marketer to step up and pull some things together to do a marketing piece for Darlene's Village.
No, it's not Darlene's Village, but
Well, we got to call it something. You're going to have to call it something, Darlene, because what you're doing here now is you're now taking the step forward. You're now
it's the whole life village. Okay, if you want to call it something, it's the healthy whole life village.
Healthy whole life village.
I like heaven on earth.
Or community, ideal community.
Garden of Eden, I like.
Earth village. Heaven on earth village.
Okay, now the other thing would be Seth just got to bringing ours back to reality is because this is one of the gardens of Eden. So this could be the first model gardens of Eden, because it's all about everybody building their own gardens of Eden. And it can be it can be a terrarium in an apartment.
How about this? I got an idea. Before our next meeting, everybody put their heads together and send in ideas for the name of this village.
Heaven on earth village.
Okay, I'm trying to put together some concepts here on the thing of the chat here is the outer teams. One of the things that we need, you mentioned that John Root isn't here. What we have to do is to look at our extended team that are out there doing things that are part of this that aren't here today as we build this outer core. It's what I call building those 3 circles, the concentric circles. Is, you've got your inner circle group of people, which is yourself and your family. And then you've got your next groups of people, which are your, the inner circles, also the people that are actually working with your family to build whatever the big thing that you're here on the planet to do. In other words, building the local community.
All right, Sheehan, we'll see you later.
Oh, you got to leave?
Yeah, she's got to go.
Okay.
See you, Sharon.
Okay, let's see. She has another one. Okay, so I'm gonna put in the chat room areas of people and things for you to take a look at to see what we have done over the last many years.
Okay.
Starting back with the Eden's project, when we've started to do this Eden project, we couldn't do it here in the US. There was too many regulations, too many things that got in our way. So England ended up being the place that we got it. And so if you want to see what can be done when a group of people get together, I'll show you, I'll put this on. So I'm trying to give you some idea of who we have that's in the second circle. And
Okay.
that's your outer people that are around the globe doing these various things.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, is if we don't work this as a global network, it will get destroyed very easily, as it's done over and over again.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
I do want to put this out. If anyone needs any assistance with interns to help further any of our projects moving forward, I need a written thing what they're going to work on. But I have a whole bunch of students still available to work on projects. And if I don't get any projects, I'm going to have them work on one major project, and that is hooking up every college in the country with us being an RSO. And that's the RSO is a registered student organization, and every college student has to put in community service hours, but the senior class has to do an internship. And we could have 100,000 students by September signing up to give us their experience in what they're learning so we can use it to benefit all of our organizations.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Chris. So now let's pull it back down here to what we're going to name within a week or so. We're going to name this village. We'll come up with a name. Everybody needs to put in a name for the village for the next meeting. So bringing it back again. So we know that we need to identify how we're going to generate the farming on the place and how we're going to generate power. And we've got people, like we said, in our outer circle of people who we think we can find that can give us what we need to power the village and to produce food on the village. So we're going to look into that. We've got that as an action item for next week to go out and touch these people, and I'll take that on as an action. Darlene's going to send me all the information that she can come up with for the people that she's already had in the outer circle of people that's doing this already. So the next thing I want to ask real quick is, all right, so Chris, I want to touch base with you real quick on a minute. So assuming, and I'm making an assumption here, that there is, first thing I want to say is this. You made a statement, Chris, a few minutes ago that Darlene wants you to run some aspect of her village. Is that correct?
No, she wants to run it.
Okay, Darlene asked you if she can run it?
Yes.
And what did that mean? Tell me what that meant.
Well, I mean, she had the property and she's already got programs going.
Right.
And she said, if we do this, can we run it? And I said, yes. I didn't even hesitate. I told her that's exactly what's on my mind. Is every organization, all the communities across the country, yes, they're going to run it.
Oh, okay. And yeah, right. Okay, got it. Understand.
Now,
okay.
In other words, we have to have a model, and this is where the model has to be in every community or every country at least, like the Eden Project that I just put in there, .com. If you look at that, that project, well, it's great. Okay, we've proven a lot of things. We've proven how you have to do how many plants have to be going in a dome. We have done, all this stuff is done. Now they're doing tours. Okay, and so it's a large project. So what we have to do now is back it down and go back to how do we do this on smaller scales now so it can be replicated by every community. So this is where we're at now, is we now have proven it can be done on a large scale
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have a lot of people to do it, but not everybody can go to there to learn the skills. So
Okay.
now we have to bring it down to the community level. That's when we decided what is the thing we need to address the most. And so that people will work. Okay. One of the things that we have to, okay, and I really need to get clear on this, because if you don't understand the basics, you're going to fail at this to start with. Okay. And this is where we understand that the core concept of what we have to work with is in our community in today's is the greatest problem that we have that keeps continually sabotaging us. And that is the homeless and the addicted that are caused by a planned program.
Yep.
You can't have a society that is operated by the deep state unless you keep people in poverty and homelessness.
Right.
So you have to address the root cause.
Right. And that's honestly, that's what hope is about. That's what the model that I've developed is. Yeah.
Fit to size. In other words, when you're in a town and they're starting to do this, you're seeing this happening in many different parts of the country. We see paradises growing up inside cities. We see slums that have been made into, wonderful places and safe places to live because of private initiatives, not government initiatives, private initiatives.
Right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think connecting with people who have really good ideas and talking to them and helping them figure out on how to grow that idea is a key start, because me being from the Black community and how so many of our neighborhoods have gone from bad to worse, and then developers come in and redevelop it and then push the people out, and therefore they can't afford to live there. So now it's like they're getting pushed to another really bad, community. And that's the thing that we have to also focus on. How do we connect with people who have really good ideas in some of these poorest communities? And like I said, it goes back to teaching people how to fish. And that's been a huge problem here in America. And I watched a report on San Francisco. They got together and said no more. They were stopping the big developers from coming in and jacking up the rate of rent and pushing a lot of people out. And I haven't did any more research beyond San Francisco, but I know that was one city that did that. Look at California and New York and how high the rent and mortgage rates are, and it's just something that's just really tearing this country up.
And I'm going to give you an example of a way we're changing that right now in a major city, and that's Chicago. This week, one of my collaboratives has got a city block give to us. We're going to build 10 homes on each side of the street, and there's a 1 mile circumference of this block that the city that this is in is willing to keep letting us have the property and develop it as we grow. But they wanted to start with a small project first. So I have a private investor that is going to borrow the money and make these houses affordable housing, but he's going to sell them. He's a profit guy. I gave him a price of $1.5 million for 20 houses at 1,000 square feet each. And next week, we're hoping to have a meeting with them to start moving forward to break ground on that. And it's one way that I'm going to be able to get some financing so I can do my project, or we can do this project, because I'm getting $500,000 down. And as soon as we show up and start making material, all the other revenue will be coming in to pay everybody to get the job done. So we are getting a start.
For the project, for the houses that you are building, how do you plan to bring people into these homes? Do you have a certain guideline for people to be able to purchase the home, move in the home? I'm asking because through my research over the years, the many reasons why people became homeless, and I took a couple of case studies from a few people who were given those Habitat for Humanity homes. They had to, work, to purchase the home. Many of them lost those houses within, a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, because of lack of education. If they only coming into the home working a job that could end up being lost and not having some type of program teaching them how to bring in, more streams of income, I think that's just something that should be introduced to
That's
anyone.
why, yeah, Marshall, that's why we do it as the transitional homes. Is we help before people can own or go into financial or into Habitat Humanity or any of those. Is now they have to, we put them through. They have to learn how to live in a rooming house, co-housing. They have to learn to live in a community. It's a hands-up program. They have to learn the skills of cooking, cleaning, minor repairs, all the things that goes into being a property owner.
Yeah, and teaching them how they can use that property, as a tax write-off. Start some type of home-based business.
Exactly.
So as
So
part
it's
of,
each one reach one.
Exactly. There you go.
so as part of the village that you're building, Darlene, you're going to be bringing in people and you're teaching them independent living skills. You teach them how to be property owners and that kind of thing. Is that right?
That's what we've been doing now for about 30 years.
Okay.
That's why I said she's a success at what she does, and I would be happy to have her running that village.
Yeah, and Darlene, I want to give you an idea if you haven't adapted this into your program, because it's something that I want to have as part of the Operation End Homeless mission. Once I get that organization fully up and operating, I had an idea to start a program called Adopt a Block.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, Adopt a Block is basically connecting with they have community block captains and stuff like that.
Exactly. We call those ward republics or republic wards.
Okay. Well,
that's Thomas Jefferson's system. We lost you, Marshall. We lost your sound.
You lost completely, Marshall. Marshall.
I wanted to make sure.
There we go. She's back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's going in and out. I wanted to make sure that there was funds set aside for the Adopt a Block. I mean, this program, can be redeveloped or whatever, but just putting the ideal out there. Having funds raised for, little small incidental things that could possibly happen. Money for getting a person's porch painted, getting a person's car repaired, because so many people are losing their homes to citations. You know what I mean? Having repair bill money for the community or the block or whatever. I know we're talking about the village, but I was just wanted to throw that out there because that's some of the things that I had researched through my homeless ordeal and the things that I went through when I owned a home. I had problems holding on to the property because of in and out of court for citations. I had owned a historical property. It was 17 rooms and I purchased it for like 10 grand. I was making payments, and just before all of this stuff happened with me with the post office, I had to sell it, and somebody later fixed it up and sold it for $495,000 $10,000. And I was about to lose the property because of citations, but I ended up doing a quick sale just to, you know, have some money to continue on with my fight and to live off of for the next, you know, year or so. But I just wanted to, you know, bring that up, you know, having funds aside for things like that.
I do have an idea
Okay.
to get out to those communities or to get those wards going. And it's actually using a program that's already going in every community across the country called Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah.
We need to reach out to Neighborhood Watch and we need to partner with them to change every block in the country.
Yeah.
But we
They
would know.
became, are they still pretty active? Because I worked with them for several years before, and they had become pretty well, we say dysfunctional instead of integratively functional.
No, I agree. That's why they're dysfunctional now. Maybe we need a new program in their criteria.
Maybe
Yeah,
connect
they
with
got
them to see
hammered
where
because
they're at.
there were some people that were getting, I think somebody got killed during a neighborhood watch altercation, and then neighborhood watch got pretty, I got sued or something like that. And then, but all these are good ideas, but I need to bring us back in here. We need to wrap this up pretty soon. I want to go through a couple of things with you guys for the property, for Darlene's property real quick. I'm going to call it Darlene's property right now because we don't have a name for the village yet. So Darlene, please forgive me. I'm not trying to call you an egotistic anything. I'm just saying this is Darlene's property, and that's what we need to call it till we get a name for it. So
Yeah, it is
Darlene,
called, it's got a name already. It's the Ideal Network Projects, and it's the Art of Living Academy. I mean, it's had those things all these years, but that's fine. Go ahead, whatever works for you. We understand.
okay, it's okay. The Art of Living Academy. Okay, so at the Art of Living Academy, as you're
Or
going
Art of Living Village, if we want to call it that. I mean, if we want to go from the academy, but it is academy in a village, in a community. I went away from using the word village because, well, there was somebody that started using it that I didn't particularly like. Anyway,
okay, so
community, I use the idea of the ideal community as creating an ideal community model.
okay, at your community, I think the team needs to get a couple of questions answered here so that we know kind of what direction we want to move forward in assisting to get the community moving forward. So like, for instance, so Chris knows what he needs to start focusing on and helping to get things in place. So in your ideal mind set about the model, how many people would you feel like you could sustain given the community model that you have in your mind? What would be your ideal number of people that you'd be bringing in and teaching them how to be independent living and all that kind of stuff? What would be the ideal number of people you'd have on there at any one time?
Well, on the present one now, of course, it depends on which way we go with it, whether we make it just as a park or whether we make it as the village. But when the last plan that we ran, we would put about 40 units along the tree line. That would be a combination of the tiny houses and RV park plots. In other words, concrete. They'll all be on concrete pads, but that would be sustainable for fully functional water, sewer, and etc. That would not count the rustic parking areas if we decide to go that way, that's what we've started with now, is the rustic camping. And then so that depends upon whether that would be singles or couples or small families. And then the TP village will have at least 8 to 12 TPs on the hillside. And that's to teach and honor the Native Americans for their being wise stewards of the planet. And of course, this property was a Native American village and allowed the first white person to live in this area. So it's a historic area. We have historic Severance Bridge. That was John Severance, was the first white man and family that was allowed to live here by the Native Americans peacefully. And the Native Americans taught those who were in this area a lot of skills and etc. So this is putting that together. So again, that depends on the amount of people that would like to have the various, because one of the things we looked at doing was showcasing architectural styles. In other words, whatever you do, I mean, you can build a log cabin, you can teepees, log cabins, straw huts, tunnels. You know, what are the different ways that you can do for survive? So this is tapping into the 4-H and FFA, you know, the basics of teaching survival, how to survive and then thrive.
So if you were to look at Chris right now, and let's say that you had funds, if you look at Chris, you would say to him, I want this many tiny homes built on this property. What would you say to him? How would you craft a statement to Chris Collins about building houses on your property?
Well, again, it depends on the price range that it's going to cost to do them. We're already, in fact, we're meeting at 2 o'clock this afternoon with one of our contractors that's wanting to have an input, and possibly he's a small startup that would like to look at doing some wood, some of the tiny house building, the wood ones, standard wood ones. And so we're meeting in him at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we say the same thing. It's like, we haven't yet done the grants or found the new foundation for this, because we've been waiting to put the team together that's going to be sustainable. And that's the first thing that we had to do. And this is why I'm introducing you all to the Go Funder program, because this is what we put together a couple of years ago to begin doing this global initiative. Because every time we tried to do this, we ended up getting, for want of a better word, the mob after us, the drug cartel, and those who are into human trafficking. This is a huge, huge problem. Okay, and John and Tegan talked to us yesterday about what happened to John when he got $25 million grant, and how it got stolen. You know, people in the family took it. So we have to look at where we go to secure ourselves, and where is the basic funds coming from to be able to do this. In other words, we have all this scrap car, but I haven't still figured out how that's going to convert into building the little houses.
I would have to invest money in the material to turn it into the roll stock that it needs to be.
Yeah.
But
that's what we've got. We're missing that key part right in there.
What do you mean invest, Chris? What do you mean by invest? What do you mean you'd have to invest? What is that?
Well, like, say they've got 100 cars. We know that they weigh about 4,000 pounds a piece. And so we've got 400,000 pounds of material. I would have to pay the scrap yard to shred that material, and then load it in a rail car, and then send it to the mill, and then pay the mill to process that material. But it is cheaper to pay these processes than it is to bring in middle people and buy material already made.
Did you say that you had, in one of our conversations, you made a statement to us that you had an agreement with a recycling facility to process scrap metal into material for building small homes. Is that still?
Yes, it is. There's actually, we sent out a blog through the National Steel Institute to 5,300 recycling centers in the United States. And we were asking all of them to get behind Hope and accept material in every community for Hope. So I'm working on that one right now with them to get all of the recycling centers in the entire country locked on. I have one with Alter and Bear. They're both the same company. Alter bought Bear, and it's here in Illinois. They're a big company, and they will do our processing and our recycling. People can take material in there right now. We have accounts with them, and they can log that material.
Do you think we could locate one in Indiana?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's one everywhere. That's the beautiful part.
It would
They're
work. I
already
mean,
they're not building any. We're going to collaborate with the ones that are there.
are they volunteering their services, or are they requiring money to do it?
No, they want paid. They're a profit business, so they want paid for it. But if people take in and drop off their washers and their refrigerators for a cost, they don't have to get paid for it. So the scrapyard ain't putting any money out. Only thing we're going to do at that point is pay them so much per pound to process it. And they're willing to do that because they're not putting out any money. Every day, that's a cash business, and they spend a lot of money buying material every day.
Okay.
So every time they pull money out of their bank account, it's good for them.
Okay, so here's
they're
what we
gonna
need
make
for
money on
Darlene.
the process.
So here's what I think Darlene needs, and Darlene, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we're talking about trying to get funds. Darlene is saying that she's going to introduce us to the GoFundMe program that she's got going.
No, Go Founders.
Go Founders program.
We have, that's maybe, one of the, I don't know how often we're planning to meet or whatever. Maybe then I could make a little overview. Basically, again, everyone needs to be able to have forms of income and build something. And so we put together a very simple process for each individual to begin with. It's for building their money is the Building Fortunes program and the radio show type dynamic, which only costs $1 to get started with for that first 30 days. Because people need to learn how to build a business. Because as Michelle mentioned, I think it was, again, the same thing that I keep saying is that if your home is not generating income, it's a liability, not an asset. Okay, so we have to teach people how to be able to be set, pardon?
Yeah, this morning, actually, I'm reading the book that Rob Kiyosaki and Donald Trump put together. I think it's titled Why We Want You to Be Rich. So I'm on board with you on that one, Darlene. There's no doubt about it.
So we have to start at the basics. We have to build a very sound foundation. So one of the things was we have to think large, we have to think global, and then act local. And actually we say now think universal because we are now working with other universes. So then we have the Go Founders. Now I've kept the Go Founders silent, Bruce and I have, because we knew the groups of people that we were working with could not afford to just sit and do nothing while their investment sat there. Okay. And so what we agreed to do is we agreed to put up $97 for every founder puts up $97, puts it in the fund. And that is what started the and pays for the initial tech people to build all the websites, to do all the inner stuff for marketing, the tools and all that sort of stuff, to be able to communicate, do all the things around the planet. Okay. So those are the two local things and like I said, I've kept this, but I did post that now so you can open it up because we agreed to keep it in pre-launch stage until we had enough people represented in each key part around the globe. And when that matrix, that metric is met, then we'll go out of pre-launch and into the next phase. The next phase then begins with, I think it's 5 different levels, 25, 125, 250, 500, on where you want to play in the game. And so that builds a 3x10 matrix. So that is your current income along with your retirement income, so you can have your own money to work with. So this is learning then how to build the team. So the 2 team building ones that we'll have now is the Building Fortunes and the Go Founders. because it's learning to be a foundation, a founder of something, building a sound foundation, and you're finding those core people around the planet that really see the vision of having peace and prosperity. Okay.
Okay.
And ending the, you know, the human farming and etc. And then the next one is the GBO and the now lifestyle. That is headed by Joel Thurin. Now the Joel Thurin moved from Canada. Joel Thurin was a power lifter, a champion, whatever you call a weight lifter, and anyway, in Canada, and he developed in Canada, well, what happened to him is he got aspartame poisoning. Okay. And so then anyway, that's when I connected with him back then, when he was building what we called Hot Conference, because communication was the key. Well, they ran out of the bandwidth in Canada. So then he started looking into the US of where's the best place for doing that. And he put it in San Antonio, Texas. And guess what's in San Antonio, Texas? Does anybody know what's in San Antonio, Texas? You don't find out. You know, one of our key components, who died there? What happened?
The Alamo?
Yep. So again, we look at these things that are a part of what is it that we learn. So what happened there, and that is, you know, etc. So anyway, Joel Thurin chose that as the headquarters for the GVO, and that was the Global Virtual Opportunities is what he put together. That's the one that has the conferencing system now that we're using. I don't like this as one that he created, as well as I liked Hot Conference. Okay, and I'm trying to get Joel to bring back Hot Conference, because Hot Conference, it just get everybody jumped on this bandwagon to do video conferencing. It doesn't work in third world. It doesn't work where they don't have the bandwidth. Joel learned that the hard way in Canada when we started to operate it out of Canada. Okay, so anyway, then we have what Shay has brought to us is the longevity, and of course, longevity goes back to the days of Joe Wallach putting together this idea of, you know, he put the tape out, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Okay. Right. And he started this idea of buying up and finding all of the smaller groups of companies that were building these great things that were health orientated. So they couldn't afford to bring it to the public in an affordable way. But by putting it under an umbrella, which he ended up calling longevity, and now they have the DAC, which is the David Allen Capital, which goes to the small community, small businesses, and helps small businesses to achieve the success. So right there in that package, and then of course we have the books and the authors and things like that. You just mentioned one with Kiyosaki and etc. Okay, so this put us together a very simple first tier for most people to be able to afford to work in. Building Fortunes costs only $1 to get started. Go Funders, if you want to get into that right now, it's $97. If you want to get into Joe Thurin's program with GVO, again, there's several levels there. Longevity, several levels. You can get started with DAC with free. So we have two areas you can get started: DAC and Building Fortunes, which is $1, and DAC is free. Anybody who wants to do something to build small businesses can get started with no investment except their own transportation, their own clothes, their own homes, or whatever. And sometimes we already have a place for them if they're homeless. We do have the Jail to Jobs program that is part of this, but that's on another level. That's a tier 2 level, because that's a solution for a problem. Okay, the first one is the tier 1 is you getting personally stable. Okay, and the tier 2 is then you help others, like the homeless, the addiction, and etc. And that's the way that we've got it laid out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this little presentation that you just did, Darlene, that is how you envision doing fundraising for these villages.
No, these are ways that individuals get stable so they can do all of the areas that need to be done to stay stable. So this is that learning how to go from the basic survival. This is where we're using, this is where we use with the dynamic of building a community. Those that are community. These are the ones that the advocates for self-government. I go back to the Marshall Fritz group. In other words, we're going back through what has worked in the past and what has been sustainable. Peter Mingles has had the most stable program in the very beginning of being able to market on the internet, teaching people who have businesses how to market on the internet.
Okay.
And so we put a small affiliate program there called Building Fortunes, because everybody who builds a business or is doing something to market something wants to get rich. They want to be stable. So
Yeah.
let's show them how to build fortunes. And so Peter Mingles, who was the head of the Direct Marketing Association, took on the lead of doing that. So we're tapping into a program and people that have been doing things all around this planet. It's about creating that ideal network projects. Who's doing what now in 2020 that is worth bringing forward and keep working with? Who is defaulted that needs to be removed? We do this once a year in November and December of every year. We go through all of the projects. We have this business alliance program. And so which ones have earned the right to stay on tier 1, and who do we want to promote to tier 1 and move others to tier 2? Because now tier 1 that might have been tier 5 at one time because it had to be kept low key while it was being done so that nobody got harmed.
Okay.
And
Can I
again, you
jump
got
in?
to.
Can I jump in?
Pardon?
Can I jump in for a second? Over the years, I watched how United Way here in St. Louis, how they were the week before Thanksgiving, they would take on corners and bring in well-known people to stand on the corners, and it was called Old Newsboy Day, and they would raise so much money in like one day. So I adapted that idea, but I started using the buttons, and I've been doing it since 2014, and it was something that worked for me. And I tried to develop a collaboration of fundraising through the items that I make, and that's why I started making them for other individuals and businesses and sending them out. And now I'm bringing in a little money here and there. But I wanted to introduce collaborating on corners for causes.
I love that.
A way for people to come out and collect small donations. And I know you can agree with this, Richard, since you read that book. Anything that you have that is small, that you can raise $1 million with a dollar item, or 50 cents item. When you think about the little machines in the grocery stores where they have, when they come in and going out, the little kids want 50 cents or $1 to put in those machines. Those companies are raising millions of dollars through those little small vending machines. But like I said, I just started paying more attention to how you can take something small and raise millions, especially when you do it in a collaborative effort. So I started getting out on street corners, bought a $13 permit for $6 for 6 months. Then I purchased a $35 permit to have my own corner at the intersection of like where the people get off the highway, and that's how I was paying my rent and keeping the mission going. So I just wanted to, throw that out there and see what you thought about that, and if you familiar with that type of, fundraising.
Yep, I think that's again one of that, the whole gamut. When I'm talking about that whole life, that whole picture, this, and I keep using this analogy of it's a super puzzle that somebody knocked the pieces all on the floor, and they're all laying there scattered, and we don't even have the picture of it anymore. So now what do we have to do? What do you do when you put a puzzle together? You put the side pieces and the corner pieces together first. You got to have those 4 corners, okay? And then when you find those pieces, they're easy to identify. And now we have a color. Now we have the things to begin putting the various other pieces, and that's what's happening now. And what we have discovered in the process is, again, you have to think universal and act local. Act local means your own self first. You have to be able to survive your own self first. So if you understand that what we are doing here in this room today is what Rick is trying to do, is kind of get us together as an inner core team to work on a specific project that might be a model we can utilize to take somebody's property and say, okay, here's what we can do with your 20 acres, or here's what you can do with your 30 acres, or here's what you can do with your 50 acres, or here's what you can do with your thousands of acres. These are that dynamic of the homesteading of how we can do it. But if we can't show individuals how to take something, and there's a lot of good programs on TV right now, This Old House and other things like that, that we can tap into. Look at all the great ideas that have developed around the planet. That's what the internet is allowing us to do, is to showcase these things. Now we need a platform to put them on, and that's at Ideal Network Projects. And then we make a criteria. It has to be very simple philosophy. And that's what Jim and I were working on when he passed away 10 years ago. And that was kind of,
You all hear her?
pardon? And then it's all about having a very simple philosophy. It's either life empowering or not. It's love empowering or it's not. It's life empowering. That's the key. That's the key. So if we have a simple philosophy, everything else we can put away. So what do we agree on? And by having those simple things of life, love, liberty, laughter, fruits of our labor, longevity, you think of all those are the simple things. That's what we have to do, is to prevent the conflicts that always seem to happen, that then sets up the deep state, activates them to do things like this pandemic. That was a way to stop us in our tracks. They needed to have something universal to stop us in our tracks.
I can't hear anything. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Now we hear you. Go ahead, Rick, you can take back over.
No,
you
so
can't do my rant.
no, that was good, because that provides us with a piece of what your model has in it. And so, so who's running that piece for you, Darlene? Is that you that's running that particular piece of your program there on your site?
On the Ideal Network?
Yeah.
The Ideal Network projects. Yeah, I've left my sites, haven't been touched since for many years, so they are dead in the water as far as right now. I will start doing them again when I can get enough people out here to help take over. I had to make sure, again, personally, do I want to bail out and turn it over to somebody else? And if I do that, then everything that I've done is going to be pretty well lost, because I don't have anybody to take it over.
Okay, Tegan, can you hear us? Yeah, Marshall had to get off.
I can hear you.
Okay, so Darla, Marshall's going to come back on. All right, so to bring this again back in, I'm sitting down now, that's why my head looks so small now. I had to sit down. I've been standing up all this whole time. So I would like to suggest that Darlene bring Tegan into this Ideal Networks concept, because from what I understand,
Tegan has been here for 2 years, and Tegan hasn't yet. She's just starting to get it a little bit, but we have. This is one of the things that we have to really look at. Who has the skills? Tegan doesn't have the skills. The only person that really has the skills right now is Kimberly. To bring these together. She's been working with me the longest. She's seen us be put, our buildings being burned down. She's seen us go through all of these dynamics. John and Kimberly are the only two that really have any kind of grasp what we are doing with, and they're the only two that I trust at this particular time. Seth is earning his way. Seth has a habit of running ahead, and he has very well intentions, but he has a lot of health issues, and so do Kimberly. John is the only real healthy one. Now Cheyenne and Don have come here. We will see how long they decide to stay in, etc. This needs to have someone who plans to stay here long term, and I mean long term, at least a couple years, in order to be able to get the land, up and running, is to do the model. So we're still putting together the team of people who are going to live here and be an active part of this. Now, Tegan is good on the computer. She does have a handicap in the fact that she doesn't, because of her stroke when she was 6 years old, she needs to learn her abilities. She can work with her idea was the trike, is riding the trike and exercise on that. I think she also could work with the pets. Part of it is the comfort cats and the guide dogs is what we call it. We're talking about redoing that. So we're already pulling these pieces together here as to who's doing what on it.
So Darlene, you said something very key just now, and that's something that I think that we need to work on. And that is that you said you need a core group of people who can live on site for a couple of years, right?
Right. In other words, they have to be here long enough to learn to live in a country setting, to be able to do what needs to be done to raise the gardens, to build the teepees. They have to learn the basic skill sets that it takes to go out into the wild and build a community.
No, and that's exactly right, because the Hope Institute model that I created also requires a 2-year commitment. So we are exactly on the same track in our thought process on what it takes to be able to build a village and make it successful, and for people to come in, learn what we need to teach them, and be able to come out on the other side with being totally independent and being able to function in their own right moving forward. So part of the challenge that we all face with these things is getting the people committed. You've got a core group of people right here talking to you right now, who you've got a few people there that I don't know that you've got a commitment from them to stay on your site for 2 more years. I don't know. That's something we got to work on with the people that are there now. And then we got to find a couple of more people who need to commit to 2 years to be there as well. I can't make that commitment. The only commitment that I can make for the academy that you're building is to be able to periodically come out there and to provide my support wherever I can periodically. I can't come live there.
Well, this is why I said the most important thing that you're doing right now is exactly what you're doing, is the navigation workbook, is giving people the cores that this is where you are kind of picking up where Wallace Ward was in the 70s. Okay. Right. Because you're doing what Mark failed to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, where the defaults are over this has been an over 100-year process that started back with, the plan came into existence actually in 1934, okay, of how we were going to reclaim what had been lost with the Federal Reserve and Jekyll Island and et cetera. So in other words, we have to look at this. This is a universal project. So you have to be able to think outside the box. And it takes a couple years, as Seth is, not everybody's in Seth's situation, but we got to create a lot of places where people can be that's in Seth's situation.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to have somebody that can take in the homeless that are sincere. This is why we did the Jail to Jobs program the way we did. is because we could go into the jails, we could interview and work with the people while they were still incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the time to learn the philosophy, learn these things. And then we knew how, when they got out, to where to plant them, where they could be planted. One of the first things that most people who are in jail for many of these problems are they have to leave the area they're in. They can't return to the same environment that put them there.
Okay, so we've got to wrap this up because it's getting pretty late. We've been almost 2 hours on this. I think we should meet weekly, and I'll bring that up here in a minute. Is Chris still on here? Chris is gone.
Okay, I'm going to suggest that during the next, today, tomorrow, whatever, that everyone go to that first link I posted there for the myownmeeting.net. Let's take some time to see if you like that room, play around with it. If you would like to have a moderator status, then you just have to send me your email. I think that's all I really need is your email in order to set you up in moderator status. And then what time zone you're in, so I can assign that to you. I'd like to have people at least in every time zone in the US, 4 or 5 time zones. That's our first thing, is to be able to start keeping that room open on a regular basis. So if somebody can't be to a meeting that's going on, they can pop in there and say, hey, what happened? You know?
Yeah,
So
I see where you're going with this. I see where you're going with this. I agree with it.
And then backing up with Skype. We keep Skype, and because Skype is video conferencing too if we need to do it. But Skype, the main thing about Skype is you can create groups or you can create individual, and your conversation is saved there.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. So that's something that the conferencing system doesn't do that, because we do have to refresh occasionally. But you know, we don't have a perfect text system. Now, this is, I think Ash is working on that part of it. But Ash took on, you know, this is a universals program, and you know, he's doing a marvelous job, but we have had a lot of setbacks with the tech side of it. Of getting one program to talk to another one. So if you don't know anything about living in cyberspace, it's a little challenging.
All right, so to keep going here, we're all going to look at the network meeting room, but also
remember to save this text chat.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do that? Everybody save their text chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when I left out, I couldn't hear anybody. I left out and came back in. I'm glad I waited around, but there's no text in the chat for
okay,
me.
what I'll do, Marshall, put in your email. Put your email there. I will copy the text and I will send it to you in an email.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat room either.
Anybody that wants me to send this to them, then I've got it from the time that I came in and put that
Oh yeah, there's a lot in the chat room. I don't know why you can't see that, Marshall. It's like 33 comments in the chat room.
It's the one all the way up at the top. It's the one all the way up at the top. It's the very first one. I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Seth.
I typed it in and my computer says there are no results for that.
What?
https://31512.
Don't copy it. Don't try to type it.
I'm on my phone.
Well, it probably doesn't work on your phone. It's computer based, not phone based.
Well, I typed it into to the computer. I can email it to myself and try to open it from my email, or maybe you could email it to me and I can try to open it from there, because I've got my Gmail on my computer.
Yeah, it works if you type it into.
I see Kim's in there.
It worked for me just fine. I went to it right away. It just opened. All I did was click on it. It opened up, had me type my name in and connect. That's it.
It's browser based. It'll work. It works in Chrome mostly, but it works in all of them.
You should see me in there now, Darlene.
Yep, I see you.
I don't
All right.
like Bing.
So let's,
Computer came with Bing.
all right,
What
so
has
you guys
Bing
go in
got to
there.
do with anything?
Bing is
Bing's-
a search engine.
So what's Bing got to do with it?
That's what my computer's got for a search engine, not
Well,
Google.
switch it.
Well, yeah, switch it. Duh. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Go into your app store and download Google.
All right.
You
We
should
got to
be able
have some
go into
computer
apps and-
classes. We got to go back to doing software and computer classes.
All right, so everybody's gonna look at the new chat room. You might as well go ahead and assign me as a moderator, Darlene, because I can tell you right now, this is gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I think I have
chat-
an account with that. I remember having that a while back ago, and somebody added me to it. I'm gonna have to do my.
So
email.
everybody put in their contact information that's here still, and then in the chat room, and then we'll have it. I've got my I have the chat room open on 2 computers. One I just have as a guest, myself as a guest, so I see what a guest sees. And my microphone isn't working well on that one. So then I keep it open on my laptop, and that's me as a moderator is my full name. And I can go in there and make a moderator. And what you can do is you can either log in as a guest or as a moderator. If you have a moderator status. I think I can put up to 5. I'm actually getting ready to open another account with another upline sponsor. I know I'm telling you a lot, but if you don't know the history of what we're doing, is my current sponsor in the one that Joel Thurn was my sponsor. He was the founder of GBO, okay? And then he got to the point, well, he assigned everyone that was in his front line to his business builders. In other words, he helped his big people that was going to be a part of the company in the different countries. And anyway, so I got assigned to a lady that is a predator. In other words, by this, I mean, I build my team, and then she had a system whereby if you didn't follow us through the systems, she got you. And I call that, you know,
See,
a predator.
that's bullshit. That's
Yeah.
what I call it.
And so I don't want to stay with her, but I would like to turn over to Dave Gardner. Dave Gardner, I've talked with him for a while. He is one of their core trainers.
I know that
And
guy.
I've told him what I needed to do was, and what I've been doing and working with things. And so he knows what I want done for my team. And so he is willing to work with me because he is the core trainer for GBO and now Lifestyles. Joel is getting ready to do something that he and I neither one approve of, but you know, again, Joel, as Joel's dad said to me when I first met Joel's dad, and right after they moved to San Antonio, he's still young and dumb. Have patience with him. So, but anyway, he's older now and he should be wiser. But here's what he's getting ready to do: is he's going to separate, or he wants to separate, the healthcare products and etc. that he's developed. He developed a 7-minute workout and in a core product for muscle building and weight loss. He wants to separate that out of his technology side, okay, and make it 2 separate companies. And we don't believe that it should be. The ones who have been with him for the last, 25 so years, say that it needs to be kept together because he's built an awesome back office. Why mess with something that isn't working? If it's working perfectly, leave it alone.
Right, exactly.
Don't
All right,
confuse
so-
us old people.
All All right, so I think that I would, as a wrap up for today, we're looking at the new chat room. I think we should all look at these companies that that Darlene's telling us about, and maybe think about signing up for them. I'm going to look at all of them. I'm going to look at every one of these things that she's talked to us about, from building fortunes to
And Skype also.
all of them.
Yeah.
I'm already a member of Longevity, but I'm also going to look at the Global Virtual Opportunities, GVO.
Yeah, I will send you, I guess I can get my link for, well, don't do anything with GVO because I would like this team to go under the new team. So
As soon as you set it up, let me know.
Yeah, I'm going to keep the one I've got now, and then I'm going to create another one under and then I'll work with Dave Gardner, and then we'll build under him, because I don't want anyone to be subjected to the other person that has lost my trust.
Yeah, let's not do that. All right, so
Are you building this under the GoFunders?
No. That you've got. This is not. It's Go Founders. No, it's under the Ideal Network projects, and I'm forming a new corporation for this one. And right now, the name that I've chosen is Healthy Whole Life Foundation, and that's what the properties. I'm going to take everything out of the Golden Rule Ministries, and I'm going to put it over into the new foundation. And I've been holding off doing that because the IRS right now is not issuing, they're not working. And I really did not want to do it here in the US. I really preferred to do it in Costa Rica or some other country offline. But we've been warned against doing that we actually are safer here in the US now. With what's happening as long as Trump stays in office.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so you're setting up a new Healthy Whole Life Foundation.org, in which this Global Virtual Opportunities team you're going to set up under that, right?
We already know the Go Founders group is already set up. And the founders, you can still become a founder of that for $97. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know when they will launch. You don't make any money with it until after it's launched.
Mhm.
Okay. But it's an investment to get your position as part of this global team that's organizing, that Ash has taken on responsibility of doing the organizing for the Go Founders.
Okay.
And that's that Go Founders group. Okay. The Ideal Network is the one that Jim and I set up as a way to track who's doing what around the planet. So we're kind of underneath the Ash group, in the fact that we are the ones that were taking on the US to start with, and looking at what that was, and then being able to create this as a global system that then looks at everything. So the projects earn their right by being life empowering, love empowering, and the people that are within that decide how they stay in as what tier. Okay. And so that the core system that's set up globally, and there's a lot of people on these various tiers, and they're on the tiers by topics. Wikipedia is another example of one that did exceptionally good job. So people take on a task, and this is something, like I said, that's been going on for over 100 years now. Okay. And we did not have the internet in the very beginning. Remember, I'm 75. My dad was a part of this original, looking at something had to happen in World War II. He realized something was wrong. MacArthur, Douglas MacArthur, if you don't have the MacArthur plan, I've got his book. So this goes back to a lot of people and each generation keeps handing it off to somebody else. And it's supposed to be the original group's responsibility was to train a group of people just like Jesus taught. Take 12, have a group of people that are working in your area of expertise. And then we can spread this around the planet. But we had to have the original, and that's, again, what we're doing. So I just happen to be one of the people that are still alive that have not passed off. I've been connecting since 1950 when I was 6 years old.
Hey, Darlene.
Yeah.
I'm in the Go Founders website.
Yeah.
And it's asking me it says, if this is not your actual inviter.
It should say Darlene Sartori.
No, it doesn't. It says op admin.
Okay. Did you click on the first one that says Go Founders registration 1091?
Was that in the chat? Did you send that in the chat? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I haven't done that yet. Okay. All right. So we need to wrap this up. So I think everybody should go check that out and do what you got to do to get into that team. If you feel like being a founder, pay up to 97 and do that kind of thing. All right. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the communications. I want to suggest something to everybody. Chris is not on here now, but I'm going to do this for him. Everybody on this call, I believe, is enrolled in the Workshops for Hope, except for Marshall. Kim is on there, I think. Darlene, yeah, everybody's on there. So here's what I'm going to do for Marshall. I'm going to send you, Marshall, copies of our workshops. Can you hear us, Marshall?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
All right, here's
And
what
Marshall,
I never got a link or anything for that I can recall.
I'm just going to send you, I'm going to send you recorded workshops because I don't think you're able to attend them.
Okay.
I'll send you the recordings of the Hope workshops because one of the things I think that is key to this core team is that we all have the same understanding of what it is that we're trying to get through with the Hope workshops, okay? So that, and I think Darlene will probably agree with me, the rest of the team will agree. And well, you guys give the feedback. Do you feel like that Marshall will benefit, get some value from us sharing the workshops with her?
oh yes, yeah. I think, again, there are some core things that we have to comprehend. And the first thing you have to know is what are your essence? If you're not working in alignment with your essence, with your DNA code, you're going to continually sabotage yourself because your brain is continually trying to adjust your path to get you where you are best at, to be the happiest. And if you're not happy where you're at, forget it. Pardon?
That's why I stay laser focused on my purpose. I mean,
Right.
I'm like,
Well, one of the other things that's important about the Hope workshops also is the idea of reconnecting with the principles that the deep state has been trying to beat out of us. Our honesty, our omnipotence, and our connection to God, and our pure love for one another, and dealing with each other like we're dealing with each other today. And when we teach the workshops, we're going through that right now. It's a 6-week course we're going through right now. But on the other end of that is the essence and the strategic plan that all of us have in the workbook for getting through to the other side. So I think there's value in just going through the workshop and listening, even if you know your essence already, going through the honesty, omnipotence, and pure love pieces of those workshops, I think is also going to help you with value.
And then what happens with Rick and what he's doing, he's coming out, like I mentioned, alluded to something, is Rick is taking over the position, basically, that one of our core people in the very beginning, Wallace Ward, was what we were doing, and his son hasn't carried forward in that realm. But the whole thing is each one reach one. Is you learn this and then you teach someone else. In other words, your children, and etc. This is that building that sound foundation. is this is the core that Jim and I did not have when we started raising our children. When we had the basics, but we were still learning. And when does our guidebook, when does our direction book arrive? When our kids were born, it's like, oh, where's the instruction book?
And
And so we're trying to say, let's give the instruction book for God's plan, nature and nature's God. What's the plan that everyone should be able to do to be happy from the very beginning? You know? And so we have to have a way. So what Rick is planning to do, and he's not touting it yet, is he's going to be teaching instructors. And he's going to teach each of us how to be an instructor, so that we can then be able to make sure that every person we bring onto our team is at these core levels of trust, because it's been sabotaging that we've had to deal with continually. Is because if you don't have a way to be able to ask people questions and to find out where they're from, where they're going, if you don't have a way to be able to put people through, and just simply say to them, I'm sorry I don't work with somebody until we've done this core interview. We've got to, in other words, it's a sit down around the table chat at a restaurant.
Right.
You want to get to know somebody first. And then before you bring them into it, you don't jump on their bones about something. You want to get to know, how can you help them? What's in it for me is everybody needs to know.
Yeah.
And then you take care of their needs. You take care of their needs first.
Yeah.
And then as you take care of their needs, they're going to be a part of you. So we've got to get your priorities straight in this planet. What does this universe use? And somebody mentioned the Borg earlier, to assimilate. This is not an assimilation. This is called dynamic governance. We all agree on certain principles, and that's what we work on. Is it life empowering, love empowering, laughter empowering, liberty empowering? If it's not, I don't want nothing to do with you. If you're for life, great. If you're for death and dying, go away. I'm not interested. If you're into love, fine. I'm with you. If you're into hate and anger and etc., I ain't with you. You know what I'm saying? So set your priorities, and this is why Rick is heading this up, is because of his doing the Hope Institute, and it's in honor of our origin in this generation between the Libertarian Party and because that's where we go back to in this generation, was the first group of people to break free thanks to someone known as Ayn Rand.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
Okay, because she was a communist who realized that ain't the way to go.
Right.
And so if you've not read Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged, well, the question is, what happens if Atlas shrugs? If Atlas holding up the planet and he shrugs, what happens?
Everything gets shook up.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to wrap this up, y'all. We've been on here 2 hours.
That's okay.
You guys can continue. Well, no, I got to wrap up. It's my call.
Yeah, it's your call. Go ahead and do your recording, and then send us out each your recording, or wherever you keep it.
I will do that. Let's finish wrapping this up. So here's the action items. We're all going to look at the meeting, my room thing.
My own meeting room.
My own meeting room.
Yeah, my own meeting.
We should all look at all the connections in the chat room that Darlene sent us and go look at those and see if we want to sign up for those. I'm going to share the Hope workshops with everyone on the call. The other piece of this thing that I want to wrap up with is this. As each one of us now knows, we're going to build the academy on Darlene's site. And we have to complete the definition of that plan going forward. Darlene needs a commitment from people to be on her site for up to 2 years. So that means that people like maybe Seth, John and Tegan, Kim, whoever's there now, are you, and I'm not asking you to answer this now, this takes some soul searching on your part. Are you going to be there for another 2 years? Can you commit? And if so, what is going to be your role on that site as a core member of that team? So you need to think that through. And you need to decide what your part is going to be of the charter. We got to reach out to the second circle of people who can contribute to the model. That's all for today. So we'll meet again next Saturday. It's either going to be on this venue or it's going to be on the other meeting room. And we'll figure that out during the week. Okay, everybody?
Okay, don't close this down until I get this last, your link put in here. You didn't put your link in here, I don't think. Okay, I want to make sure that, so of course, I think everybody is already a member of the Living Hope Institute.org. If not, make sure, because that's going to be, I'm going to place this one in here underneath Building Fortunes. I'm actually going to put the Hope and the We Care are actually in there as already, you know, accepted, because most everybody on this team are here. So in other words, the Hope and We Care are going to be there. So if you're not part of the We Care and the Hope, and then I think that, you know, like I said, we're kind of in that restructuring we're doing right now because of this pandemic was worked in our favor, and we're doing what we would have not done until November and December. Okay, so reevaluating who goes where, and our tier ones are always fluid, and tier one means that this core team works with these programs, and so I had scaled it back to the only ones that, the 4 that I was working with that have enough of my team already to go forward with this. So, and I said my team because that's what it started out to be. It started out to be Darlene's project because nobody else would take it on. Because I'm going to be brutally honest, most of the people that we were working with are people who already been there, done that. They don't want to get down in the trenches again, you know. They are willing to contribute their talents and skills and the projects they've built to it, but they're not going to go out and walk the streets and get the addicts off the streets and etc. There's other people that's trained to do that. They've been there, done that, so to speak. And so this is the way, this is called that lift up program, is you know, again, it's just like the military. I only know the military system to be very, very functional, because it is, you have the lowest of people on the totem pole know how to do what the colonels and admirals can do to survive. They all went through basically the West Point idea. They all know the basics of survival, you know? And so if they lose the top ranking one, the private can still survive because he's been taught survival skills. Right. And if the admiral loses all the grunt people, he can still survive or she can still survive because, you know what I'm saying? So we have to create a situation where we all can survive at all times and then thrive.
Yeah, that's my motto. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go. My main goal for my role in any part of anybody's team is raising the type of funds that I know is needed for anyone to support their mission goals, their businesses, their dream, and that's where my heart is. Raising funds, sharing the wealth, so people can, you know, stay focused on their dream. And it all sums up in homeless mission. Well, I'm gonna say that part, then I'm gonna go because I know everybody else.
Oh, I think, did I send these? Okay, wait a minute. I sent these. Gotta recopy them. They ended up from Seth.
I added my phone number and email in there, so send me whatever you need to send me.
Yeah, somehow it got locked on just Seth, I think somehow.
Yeah, I gotta figure this out, how that did that. I don't, it's supposed to go to everybody.
It should be everyone now. It looked like it was locked on just Seth.
Okay, did you do that?
No, I don't know how that happened, but I just went in there.
You did it. Okay, you put it there. All right. Thank you, Richard. Okay, I'm going to copy this, save to the chat or show in folder, and I copy that, and then I will send this out to each of you in your emails that put it in there for me.
Okay. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk again next week.
Alrighty.
Don't hesitate to email me, rickmabe@livinghopeinstitute.org, or call me at 757-696-3341. It's on the chat. Thank you.
Okay.